everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host Anne, and disembodied hands Quindy, and sometimes a John, and eventually no Justin, but maybe Justin now. And lazy Kiki, who went from total dingo who wants to play to collapsed in the hallway. Once we both were at our computers, she's like, oh, it's that time of day. You don't want to come say hi, Kiki? You don't want to come say hi? She's just giving me the side eye right now. She's like, nope. I'm going to sit here and stare at you and wish you were not doing that stuff. Yep. I am off tomorrow, of course. So, yeah, here we are. We have a mousling to do. A mousling. Need some shield brown, some desert sand, some storm chaser blue, because that's what we used. And hello, everybody. Yeah, I bet if I was in an office and there were only 3 people, Shiver, it sounds like it would be great. Ed used to, all the time. I didn't always, but Ed used to come in on days that were off, like that the company was off, just so he could actually go into his office and get useful things done, because it was so nice not to be interrupted all the time. So that was totally an Ed thing. It's a thing, man. It's a thing. So, newslets. The book went to the editor last night. So I only got through about half of it with my revision edits, but you know what? The rest of the stuff wasn't that big, and so I was like, I'll just give it to him. I can always, I doubt Justin has the time, Pendrake, if he's getting ready to go. But yes, so the book is in the hands of the first editor. I don't know if I contacted my second editor, who's more of a beta reader on this one. She does really good beta reads. I pay her for beta reading, but it's worth it. Because she's a really good developmental editor, and she'll catch stuff, right? Because the editor that it went to is my new editor, and he's a copy editor. He's going to look at my language and word repetition and punctuation and, you know, all that stuff. He's gonna catch out any typos, or he'll be my first pass for typos and all that kind of thing. So that's where we are there. Not because of Jeff Goldblum. Right. Just like nobody watches Jurassic Park because of Jeff Goldblum. Totally not me. Totally me. You have Rainier cherries. I'm going to be at Rainier. I don't think they're from Rainier. I don't think Rainier cherries are from Rainier. But I'm going to be at Mount Rainier on Friday, I think. No, on Saturday. Kiki and I are going to be at Mount Rainier National Park. This will be the second national park that Kiki will have visited. No, third one, because we hit Yellowstone just barely on our way, taking her home from a baby puppy. Oh, super, Shiver. Yay, thanks. Ooh, well, book 2, I've committed. The release date for book 2 is August 24th. That should give me enough time to get copies in, to bring to ReaperCon. Yeah. Well, cool. Super. Thank you very much. Yeah, the more we can get the word out. When I'm a baby writer, it's all about just getting the word out. I actually just I was surprised. Like, all of my ad campaigns on Amazon before this past couple weeks have really not spent the money that I, allotted to them. Until they just changed their system, Amazon did. Supposedly, they cleaned up some of their categories, because there was a way... There were authors who were sticking their books in categories that were not too highly populated, even if their book didn't really fit there, just to get eyes on their book. And which is kind of a crap move, but they did it anyway. Everybody did, because everybody's desperate for eyeballs. But Amazon actually went on a thing where they They cleaned up categories recently. If a book didn't really fit the category, then you're out. So I thought I might try advertising in categories. And boy, did Amazon use my money this time. On the plus side, lots and lots of people got to see my book. So that's nice. And there were some sales, and there were definitely some KU downloads, but I don't know. You never know how many those are until you... Yeah. Mount Rainier National Park is possibly my favorite national park because I love Mount Rainier, Carnico. And it's like, Mount Rainier is a lot like Mount Fuji. Like if you're, you always get those shots of like where there's just this giant mountain just going up out of nowhere. Mount Rainier is like that. And if you ever do come to the States and say you fly through Seattle Tacoma International Airport, you can see the mountain from some of the terminals. Like they have windows that'll just like point in that direction, and it's just immense. It's just like all the mountains around it are like this, and then there's this mountain. So Mount Rainier is just amazing. It's awesome. Washington State University, named after Mount Rainier. Great. Well then, there is a slight correlation. All right, we'll do the little shirt first. I'm just gonna dirty it up by using some Shield Brown to shade it, and then we'll bring it back up. Yeah, it's often shrouded in cloud or wearing a hat, Carnico, depending on the season. Yeah, oh yes, it's still active, technically, Pendrake. It's dormant right now, but it could very well blow. Like, it's like, you remember Mount St. Helens? Mount St. Helens was in the same situation as Mount Rainier is. Dormant volcano until it wasn't. So we all hope that doesn't happen, but, yeah, I call it wearing a hat with the shield cloud. The shield cloud, when we were in Hawaii, we saw the mountains there wearing that, also dormant volcanoes, although most of them actually like dormant, wearing hats all the time. So I always say the mountain is wearing a hat. And the mountains here outside, like the mountains here in Mountain View, get comb overs. So you've got the Santa Cruz Mountains, which are very low mountains. Furry green mountains is what I call them. They're down the road that way. And when I walk, it'll be sometimes where the clouds, because it's on the other side of them is the coast, right? And there's always weather kind of coming over the top. So when they've got that kind of like clouds swooping in from the coast toward me, it looks like they have a comb over. But yeah, Rainier is still considered potentially dangerous. It's like, not like, it's been dangerous for millions of years, or for hundreds of thousands of years. I don't remember when the last eruption of Rainier was, but technically it can erupt again. I do know that because I based a role-playing game around it. I ran my werewolf game set at Mount Rainier, so I did. Once upon a time, I had a lot of Rainier factoids memorized. Yeah, I wear coats. Yeah, cloaks. Yep. Yeah, Rainier, when I was in Seattle with David visiting his parents last time, we didn't get to see Rainier at all because it was wearing a coat, just like you said. There was too much cloud cover. Could not see the mountain. We could see the peculiarly shaped clouds that showed that was where Mount Rainier was, but we could not actually see the mountain. It was hiding that day. It was being shy. But yeah, it's probably my favorite mountain. And pictures don't do it justice. Like the immensity of the thing is something you have to see in person. It's like Yosemite, where you don't realize how huge and how dramatic and how amazing it looks really from photographs. Like it looks great in photographs, but it's nothing like when you're standing there looking at it. And you totally get why it became, I think it wasn't it the nation's, no, Yellowstone might have been the first national park. But Yosemite was, you can see why it was made a national park. Just because it's so darn awe-inspiring. All right, so we're going to start out with, and this is a perfectly viable triad, by the way. Desert Sand, Shield Brown, and Pure White. Even though the white and the brown are quite different from the Desert Tan, I want some drama because the details are pretty small here. Yep, and yep. Oh, Carnico. Yeah, Mount Rainier is one of those. Mount Adams, Mount Rainier, they're all part of that range, right? Where there are just these big mountains. Yeah, it sounds like that was over dramatic documentary for sure. It's like Dramatic Squirrel. It's just like dramatic documentary. They're like, and now we want to scare you because it will make people watch us. But yeah, I'm gonna thin the white 2-to-1, which is my MO, and I'm actually gonna thin the shield 1 2-to-1 as well, shield brown 2-to-1 as well, because I want to be able to use it for shading without seeing too many brush strokes. But yeah, Mount Rainier is one of those mountains that could go boom. But it's so gorgeous. It's such a freaking gorgeous mountain. And the coolest thing, the reason it's my favorite national park, is that it has all sorts of ecosystems. So like if you're up in the northwest in the Carbon River Valley, it's temperate rainforest. And then you drop down to the south and it's old growth sequoias. And then you go out to the east and it's like lava columns and like stuff like that. Like it's really, it has so many varied ecosystems. And then of course when you go up the slopes, it all changes as well. I think you go through seven or 8 ecotypes going from like Carbon River around and then up the mountain. It's really, really cool. Atlas weather. Yeah, I hope that once we're actually up next to the poor thing, we can actually see the mountain this time. July probably is a good weather for it. Rain is not that common. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when it erupted too. That's why I brought it up. I figured a bunch of you people might actually know about that one. Oh, and we did take, here, since Kiki didn't want to grace you with her presence, we did take Kiki to the ocean this weekend. The Kiki met the ocean. She has now met the Pacific. And it was it's actually almost a mile of hiking. It's like 0.7 miles or something to from the parking lot to the beach. So it actually... So we were at Funston Beach. It's a Keeker. There's the Kiki running on the beach being happy. And there's the Kiki out on by the ocean. This is the only one I got of her like actually standing like in the surf. She was running near the ocean, but you can see it's a nice big flat area. When the tide is fully high, it does come right up and almost touch the cliffs in areas. But the whole beach is like this. It's just it's a really long, wild beach. You can see the beautiful erosion and sedimentary rocks. There's David with Keekster. Oh yeah, HM for sure. So it's a really beautiful area. Kiki meeting other dogs. There's the water. So yeah, there were some nice other dogs there. Kiki having fun, playing chase in the surf. Got her happy dog face on there. Happy dog face. So I did get her running through the water there. And then Kiki running more. So yeah, it's just like, and that's the other end of the beach. Like it's just that. And it's got cliffs closing it off at either end. And then it's got the cliffs here. And there's only one real way to get back up the cliffs through this like cut, which is actually quite a clamber. Because you're trying to climb upward like in like steps in really loose sand, a combination of like stuff and rocks and mud and really loose sand. So it works your legs. But yeah, and then the other thing is that the cliffs here, it used to be there used to be a military, like a battery up here, actually overlooking the cliffs because it was a good vantage point. But there is actually hang gliders use it because it's such a nice tall cliff to go out over. So yep, and there's us walking down. That's what it looks like walking down to the beach. So the ocean is over here. You can see it. And there's just tons of dogs because it's a totally off-leash area, and because the dogs really can't go anywhere, tons of people use it. Funston Beach. Fort Funston is the name of the area. And then Battery Davis, that's the battery, the artillery battery that used to be up there. World War II, I think. But yeah, it's considered, it's a San Francisco beach, but I think it's the southernmost one, and it's the wildest beach. of San Francisco as far as like just it's pretty much, it hasn't been developed at all. It's not touristy. It's just beach. You just go. It's on everything around it is, there's like minimal facilities and yeah, so that's very it was fun. It was cool. All that you're gonna get like here, where's my but yeah, all of the coastal areas, there's usually a lot more of these conifers because you can see how the wind coming off the ocean has shaped the trees. And there's just a lot of these trees like all around San Francisco, all around the Bay Area when you walk in these areas. This is very much open because I think the sand just prohibits a lot of tree growth in some of these areas. But yeah, a lot of those trees just catching the mist and stuff coming off the ocean. It's pretty dramatic. Like when we left here, when we left Mountain View, it was, you know, it was sunny and it was almost 80 and it was already going to get really hot. When we arrived at the ocean, mist was blowing in. Like you saw how it looked cloudy. That's all just mist off the water and fog. And it just carries the moisture inland in these huge streamers. Like you get to the point where you can hardly see the road. And there are flashing lights to warn you when there's stop coming because you otherwise can't see it because the mist and the fog can just be that thick. And so by the time we got to the ocean, it was actually 20 degrees or more cooler. It was in the 60s and I was freezing. I had to wear a dog towel because I forgot my coat. The ocean is Kiki approved. She didn't even try to drink it. I was really, really amazed actually. Oh, yeah, they have porta potties, but that's it. Like there are 3 porta potties for this beach and the trails, and that's it. I appreciate, you know, being that person who always has to find a bathroom. I appreciate them. At least there's something. I'm going to get some of this brown in here just to start shading down a bit. And you can see once I thin it, it's really not as dramatic of a difference as it looked at first. And putting this brown into these creases will give us that more of that weathered look. Using brown is always going to suggest a bit of dirty kind of effect. Yep, exactly. Exactly, Pendrake. Yep. Yeah, it's a crazy weather system here. Like you go into the city and you have to remember it's 20 to 30 degrees colder. And during the winter, probably it's always like 20 degrees. Like if the weather here is such that I need a light coat, if I go into the city, I have to wear a heavy coat. And I always forget because it's just so weird. Oh, wow. So it's go pee in the woods like a bear, huh? Well, that's fair. I'm sure there are places around like that here, although I think most of the parks around here try to have at least the porta potty option. They can be rather disgusting, but if you are desperate, you can have something. Bring in my desert sand, just make sure that I can highlight this. But you can see that's bringing out some details now. Oh yeah. Yeah, San Francisco is like, it is very, very foggy. Like the weather in Silicon Valley, where we are, you know, 30 minutes south and a little bit inland, is gorgeous. But going to the coast of the city is very, very cold. Even when it's 90 inland like it was. That's why we decided to go on Saturday, as it was going to be so ridiculously hot here. When it was 93, it's still like 65, 63 at the beach. That's the thing that surprised me the most when I moved out here, is how freaking cold the beaches were. Because, you know, I'm used to like going to Florida with my family or the Caribbean or whatever, and oh, I thinned my paint maybe a little bit too much with the white. We'll see. I don't want the white highlights to be too strong on this shirt because I do want it to feel like it's kind of dirty. So yeah, now Kiki will be able to go to Mount Rainier, and we're going to go around, because dogs are only allowed on paved trails in the national parks. We're going to go actually over, I think, to the east side. And and go. There's national forest lands out there, and national forest lands in the U.S. are always open to dogs, I think, or mostly open to dogs. So we're gonna essentially hike the part of the there's a loop trail where part of it is in the park and part of it is out of the park. So we're gonna hike the part of that with Kiki that is just out of the park. But I'd also like to stop in a couple of locations in the park with the car. So I'm gonna ask pretty please if we can stop at a couple. Like I want to see the Carbon River Valley, which is the rainforest part, and I want to visit the Grove of the Patriarchs, which is the oldest growth, but huge sequoias. So Kiki might have to stay in the car for those, but we'll be in the mountains, so it should be renamed Isle of the Rain. Maybe it was more misty when it was named, and now it's climate change makes it rainier. Or maybe they just thought it was prettier to call it the Mists. So there we go. So we've got that. And now if I really want to double down on the dirt, then I'll make it like all around, because dirt's going to catch like around the belt. So I'll take my Shield Brown and just paint that more dirty down there. So David and I were talking, and he was mentioning, he asked if I'd ever done a PDF about the fact that if you want to do a really like saturated brown, you really can't use colors that are like browns. Because he used to try painting like saturated browns with existing like pre-mixed browns from companies, and he realized that he could never get a bright or vibrant like brown unless he used colors that nobody would think of as brown. In other words, reds and oranges. I don't think I'd ever really talked about that, but it's true. That or pure pigments. But the reason the pure pigments work is that they're very red, very orange red, or yellow, very yellow, right? That's why pure pigments work so well if you want a saturated brown. If you don't want a really, really neutral kind of fading brown. But just using like kind of pre-mixed browns can give you weird results where it just kind of looks like it isn't very lively or it looks kind of dead. That can happen. Oh, I forgot to do his gloves. I'm gonna have to do that. His glove, rather. Oh, Albert Vason, hey, nice to see you. It's 45 months. And Carrie Michael Cosby with the 35. Dang. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much for the resub. So we're Mousling Witchhunter, or Mousling, whatever people are calling it. I call it Witchhunter because it reminds me of the witch hunters from Mordheim and Games Workshop's world. But it's Papa, what did you just do? So this morning David went out to get a donut for breakfast because he likes to get a bear claw or an apple fritter when his favorite bakery is closed, which it is on Mondays. And he must not have like really said anything. He swears he said goodbye to Kiki, like he usually does. But I was still in the bathroom doing my hair, and I must have been really quiet because all of a sudden I hear this, this sad little howl coming from the kid. Like, Kiki, what's wrong? Oh, did I summon you? Did I summon you, doglet? Did I? Good girl. Oh, where's my doglet? Where's the face end? There it is. This is the licky end. Hey, licky end, come here. Come on up. Yay! It's the licky end. Yeah, everybody wanted to see you. I had to show them pictures of you. Yes, I had to show them pictures. Oh, kisses. Hello. You almost licked my glasses. That was going to be silly. That was going to be so silly. Yes, there's my girl. There's my girl. Yes, she's my girl. Yeah, I miss Mordheim too. I loved it. It was super fun. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. Yeah, you don't have to stay up if you don't wanna. You don't. Muzzle snitches, yes. Noogies, dog noogies. Yes, I know. I know. So boring, and we're so boring in the morning. We're so boring. Good girl. Freshly bathed. After we got back from the ocean, we hose bathed her. Yeah, you got a hose bath. Your first one, huh? She actually did really well until David sprayed it in her ear. But she did better for the hose bath than she has It was 93. We're like, let's just hose her down and shampoo her and hose her off. It went much faster than trying to get her into the tub and hold her there. And she was much better rinsed. But yeah, she had a hose bath. Which we wanted to get a bath for her before we went to Seattle anyway, so. But yes, now the Kiki has had her appearance. But yeah, I miss Mordheim. I used to play it a lot. A lot. Post-college when I was living in Madison. We ran a couple leagues at our store. Always loved it. There we go. So now I've got kind of a dirty white shirt, which I kind of wanted with him. And I need to remember to do the glove, which is probably do a lot like this. I'll do some underpainting on it, just some rough texture, and then hit it. And I need to do a little bit along the edge of the hat because it's so thick. So I want to hit the rim of the hat just a little bit. I don't mind leaving the underside dark because it's in shadow, but do a little bit on the edge there, I think. Okay, now we go and do the coat, and I'm gonna keep these colors out because these two, especially if I load a little bit of that into that, these two will make good like kind of dirt and dust colors. So that's desert sand and shield brown. I often use driftwood as well, but honestly, if you load a little bit of shield brown into desert sand, it's equivalent to driftwood. So. No, never was really interested in it, Pendrake. There's something about just the Mordheim setting that I like. So, and it's not the same. Like, Mordheim is its own beast. That's a reason why it still has a rabid fan base out there, even though it's been, like, canceled for forever. Mordheim just, like, is its own thing. If you want to get the feel of it, then play the computer game on Steam. I always had a lot of fun with it, but yeah, Frostgrave is supposed to be good. I don't know, I never really got into it. But remember that when Frostgrave came out, I was working at Reaper and really burned out. I was still doing staff painting, and we had, I'd done a bunch of stuff with Warlord when it came out, and I was just not in the mental space to be looking for a new game. Yeah, the Mordheim PC game, I think, captured, like, the feel of Mordheim really well, Zachariah. The reason I love Mordheim was, like, the things that could happen to you after a battle if you were taken out of action. Like, there was an injuries chart that would do different stuff to you. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. Most of the time it was bad. And then just the leveling and advancement system, you could get cool powers and be more powerful, but then you're like you'd get a character like that was getting really powerful, and then it would get taken out of action, and you'd be like, oh noes, and you'd lose it, or it would come out with a horrible scar that gimped it. So then you'd have like this three-legged monstrosity running around that was still really OP, but like limping on 3 limbs. It was cool. It was fun. It was very story. It had a lot of story for a game. It was just a good time. Okay, so I think we did use Storm Chaser. I'm pretty sure we did. So I'm going to do something weird with this because I want this coat to be more faded looking. So there's our Storm Chaser. But as I build highlights for this, I'm actually going to mix in this desert sand. And the gray and the yellow in this is going to kind of wash out this blue as I do the highlights. It's going to make it appear faded. Yeah, I never played Inquisitor. I liked the models because I liked the bigger stuff. I never got into Necromunda just because none of the warbands really appealed to me. Escher's were closest, but because female, but I don't know. I liked that I could play Beastmen or Possessed in Mordheim or Skaven. I could play like animal things. I like animals, either women or animals or sisters, but even the sisters weren't really my jam. And there wasn't really that option in Necromunda. You couldn't play really. Everything was mutants or humans, and it just didn't like get me as much. All right, now we're gonna mix a little bit of this. We're gonna use desert sand as a highlight for this. So we're gonna really wash it out. That's just with a brush full of the desert sand in it. It's shifted a lot. And we'll go from this and we'll start layering some of that Desert Sand and Shield Brown over the edges to really fade it out along the edges of the coat. But yeah, more time. But I always preferred fantasy to science fiction, so it's no surprise that I liked more time better than Necromunda. Oh, I forgot. Wait. I can show you guys. 1 second. 1 second. Must fetch something. Yes. Alrighty. So I don't know. I have to do a couple more versions. But that's what I've got so far with this guy. I haven't finished the claws. I haven't figured out what color the tongue is. I haven't done the eyes. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. There's actually teal highlights on the indigo, and then a white highlight, and then the reddish color. I kind of like this. I think I might go with this, but I want to do a version of the wash that's much more lightweight and see how, because it'll make it more toward white, right? So that's what I'm kind of thinking. But yeah, that's what I was looking. I tried going more saturated because originally I was going to go like I did with this, more like this. But when I got down to it, because my shadows were so strong, the red, the really bright red, didn't work. And I found that if I muted it and did it, it looked a lot better. So I'm going more with that. So I'm basing the color scheme off of that bust, but I'm not like sticking to it. Hey, Roger. It's kind of purple and teal. It's not really Pendrake because the purple isn't really purple. It's actually indigo. This is Night Sky Indigo. And then it's over blue, so that shifts it blue even more. And then the teal is pushing the shadows more purple than you think. So it's really more teal and pink. Teal and coral, teal and pink, something like that. I thought about making it purple and teal, like the mini painter, you know, like, what am I looking for? Trope. The mini painter trope. But, I'm going to get some brown liner guys to shade this jacket because we didn't really do anything except base coat it. But yeah, I did think about purple and teal, but then I went with that instead. I kind of like it better. And I think that I can vary up that color scheme enough. Like I can do a set of termies that are lighter, you know, have a lighter indigo, and so I can take them up closer to white, but still keep mostly the color scheme. And I can go darker with the carapace in some and lighter in others. You know, I can vary it. Because I do like to do that. I don't want to cookie cutter every single Tyranid. I want to have a little bit of difference in my units, especially so I can tell them apart. Because when you're playing Tyranids, you're often mashing all your termagants up against the opponent, and you often have 2 units in contact. And so telling them apart is helpful. Oh, good. Nice, Kroniko. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I think that it'll develop as I work through it, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I repainted the carapace twice, but once I got it down, like I think I didn't paint the other two. If you want to see what this side turned out, that's like the basic. Like there's the wash, and then I use blue liner on the plates to start with. So the plates start out actually quite dark. Saves you work because you don't have to shade, then you just work it up. But yeah, I think I could do like one of these a night to this standard, which is much better than you know, your average gaming level, which is what I like. Like this is fast, but I could also upscale this, right? When I go to paint my Hive Tyrant, I can do a much better, more refined version of this and spend more time on it, and it'll look good. And that's kind of what I was looking for. I was looking for a color scheme that I could do fast-ish. Like if I painted a Gaunt tonight, I'd have 5 Gaunts by 1 week, and that's fine. Like in 1 month time, I'd have a big unit of Gaunts. I'm not looking to be fast with this. I want to end up with something I like. I thought about doing, in the past, I've just painted like a color on the base or something, Pendrake, but I wanted to do it a little more subtle and still, I like switching it up a little from unit to unit because then it's not, you're not painting 80 of the same color, but you get to vary it a little. So like some of them, like I said, I'll go much lighter with the skin. I'll go almost like white, whereas these you can still see are kind of tealy purpley. But I'll take it much lighter on one unit and see if I like that. And then maybe I'll make the carapaces darker for those, or maybe I'll make them lighter, right? Probably darker though. And so I'll vary it. That way every unit of bugs is a little bit different. And so then I don't feel bored. Because when you're painting a horde army, the most important thing is not to get bored with it. Is to still enjoy it. So I'll probably, to be honest, I'll probably paint 5 termagants. And then I'll let myself paint something nicer. Something big. Something big or cool. That where I can spend a little more time. But yeah, I mean, you could, since they have tails, you could just put a different colored ring on the tail of each of the models. You know, you could do that. Absolutely, Pendrake. That would be totally fair. Totally fair. Or a different, like, you could just do a different plate. Like one of the plates on the head or on something, do it in a different color. Wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it would be functional. I would rather just have a little bit of difference. A little bit of difference so that it's still mostly the same thing. So the armor still looks like it belongs together, but switch it up just a bit. So we're doing some shading, some quick shading on this where we didn't before. I'm doing a brown liner because this is such a dark blue. I don't really want to just do a darker blue. You get a very flat effect when you do that, although it is, of course, something that we're taught to do as beginning mini painters, to use just a darker blue to shade a lighter blue. And you certainly can do it, but after a point, it will tend to look flat to you once you've tried other shading methods. So do experiment with shading with different colors because it can be really interesting and fun. And once you go that way, you'll find that you get a little bit bored and impatient with shading with the same thing all the time. But yeah, so I'm not in a big hurry to paint my Tyranids. I just want to kind of go slow and enjoy them because the new models are really nice. And although I'll be painting the little bugs pretty fast, I want to spend a little time on the bigger bugs. So. And I did order color shift paint, so I'm going to be experimenting with that a little bit. Ordered some Turbo Geek because I've liked that brand the best. And if I do color shift, it will not be like the main point. I did a PDF on my Patreon a while ago where I showed you guys what cool effects you can get with underpainting and then using color shift over the top just to add an extra dimension. I really like that effect. So I'll still be like painting the top of the carapace like this, but I did order, I think, a red to yellow shift paint. So I may try that. Yeah, I thought rings, but you'd never pick Nids, right? Yeah, I like Nids. I like Nids. I like bugs. Consume the universe. Space Marines are just crunchy candies. But yeah, so it's good stuff. But yeah, I figure I'll slowly work through my box of Nids and see and kind of watch new releases and stuff. Once the codex comes out, I'll pick it up. All right, so yeah, using the brown liner. One of the reasons I'm using brown liner here is that it's a complementary color to the blue. So brown is a muted orange, and so the orange and blue are complementary, and so that's why I tend to reach for browns. That, and if you're doing a weathered effect, you want that dirty look, right? So getting that kind of brownish, like, inlaid look is a good thing. So, but yeah, my color shift paint actually should come. I should check that real quick. I think I've got... I'm on Amazon, so let's see here. See all. See all orders. Oh, actually it's delivered today. So my color shift paints are sitting outside. Here are the ones I ordered though. I ordered the red to yellow with a little hint of green. I ordered the icy color because I thought this actually might look really good on the carapace. The yellow to red with a bit of the blue. So this one is really the one, the mother lode. This is the one that I really think might look really good on the Tyranids. Then the kind of paler purple to teal and the darker teal to blue. Because I do tend to really like these colors, so I figured I'll do some experiments. So yeah, so those are all sitting outside waiting for me to go and get them, which is exciting. Yeah, the Turbo Dork, I mean, okay, so if you want to really just get that iridescent color, put down a dark base and then just put layers and layers and layers. Airbrush works great. Lots of layers of it. And the more layers of the color shift you put on smoothly, the more intense the color shift appearance gets. But it also will cover up any work you did underneath it. So with color shift, I think the thing that people don't do with it that I'd like to see people do more with is underpainting it and then using the color shift to accentuate parts. I feel like you can do some really, just like with shaded metallics, I feel like people have not even touched the beginning of what we could do with shaded color shift. Like, it's not suitable for every model. It needs a bigger space, which is why I'll be using it on the top carapace of these guys because it's a fairly large space for a 28. But I think you could do some really cool things with it. Yes, I like that undercolor is important in Aura because that lets me change it. Because then if I put it over a red or I put it over a blue or if I put it over a green or a black, it's going to look very different. And the size of the surface matters as well. But I like that because that gives you more versatility, right? And that's why I ordered so many of them, is because I knew that and I was like, I want to see which one actually looks the best, not just what my gut says might look the best, right? But I like, overall, my experience with the Turbo Dork color shifts has been positive, and so I wanted to kind of, if I was actually going to do this, I wanted to really take a look at it. And the cool thing is that could be a part of differentiating my units too. Like if a couple of different colors look good and I decide to do this on my NIDs, then putting a different color shift over different units could make it look kind of cool and still keep my color scheme. Yeah, that's because you have to put a lot. You have to really build it up, Richard. To get an effect like you see on color shift vehicles, they put on so many layers and build it up into a shell, just like an insect shell. Like what you're looking for is the light has to filter through all those layers to get that strong iridescence. So you have to really pile it on to get a strong effect. And the other thing is you've got to be, ideally your paint is a bit darker on the base. Like it won't look as intense if you put it over a lighter color. And that's just, it works the same way that mica tends to work. Yes, and if you put them over a gloss coat. And you have to shake them very well. Yeah, because that's a very, very fine flake. Super fine. Yeah, that's why they settle. So there we go. So everybody is helping. So if any of you want to, I should ask David to, hey honey. He's like, no. I'm tempted to run outside and get them. Hold on. Hold on. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe they're right by the door. Maybe they're right by the door, Papa. there we go. Gloss black, yeah. Yeah. Very fine print. I have to use glasses. Yeah, normally they pop them. Sometimes the thing is that we have a front gate pen rake, but then our door is actually, you have to walk in the gate and then up a little bit, and then there's our door there. And there's in a bit of a nook. So sometimes they'll bring stuff all the way to the door. And sometimes, yay! Woo! So we got this one, shiny. That's that one. So sometimes they'll bring it all up. Sometimes they dump it just inside the gate. Sometimes they dump it on the other side of the gate. Today they put these through the mail slot. Hello, Valandar. I was just, I got my, they could hurl paint and it would bounce, but yes. I just got my color shift paints for my, for Buglet. My Buglet, Valandar. Probably that will be the color scheme for one unit of Tyranids. We'll see. But I got the color shift. I ordered a bunch of Turbo Dork, and now now that I know about the side text, I'm gonna, here we go. So these are what I got. Hi, Bubba. I know, no, you cannot eat these. No, those are not edible. Not edible by tiny puppas. Sorry, you may feel differently. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to come up and say hi? No, you're such a dork. She's such a dork today. A Turbo Dork. That might suit Kiki, actually. So here's the ones I got. Yay! So you can see that one has blue pigment in it right off the bat. These probably have a bit of white pigment in them. This one looks like could just be straight up. I'll read the fine print. It's time to read the fine print. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, that's my first. I'm gonna vary the color scheme across units a little bit, but that's my prototype that I was working on the other day. So all right, so different, this one might work fine. So, all right, so let's see. Yes, so shake well before use, make sure tip is clear, must be applied over a black undercoat. I disagree on that. It'll be applied over a black undercoat if that's what you want, but it can give you different effects by not doing that. Actually, if we wanted, I could apply it on one side of my carapace here and over the other side and see what it looked like. 3 to 5 thin layers with airbrush or hand brush. Okay, so that one is that. This one, black or other turbo shift colors, is where it should be applied. Again, 3 to 5 layers. So this is over black. This is over black or other. Must be applied over white for this one. That's interesting. And again, it'll be, I bet there's white pigment in this. So 3 to 5, thin layers are the same, but over what color they're supposed to be applied. These are all different. So this is black. Okay, so your blue and this are both over black. And then these guys are either black or over white. This is very interesting that this is over white. This is my favorite one. I bet this over the skin could be cool, but I don't want to do an entirely color shift bug. Maybe I'll have to do a variant that has, maybe I'll swap it, guys. Maybe I'll make the purple or the pinkish color, the reddish color, the skin, and go white with the carapace and do that other color shift. Yeah, and that's because, and I think I've talked about this before, but even with metallics, like with Reaper metallics, when you're working with mica flakes, and even with the silica-based flakes, which is all Reaper paint pretty much, and most metallics that you find from other companies, they would send us a book of examples of flakes to order from, and in those books, they would have a swatch page, and the swatch page would be divided into a black section and a white section, and then the flake was applied over the top of both, so that you could see how the flake looked over black and white, and it was always more intense and shinier looking over the black, so you could directly see. And that's just the way that that sort of flake works. If it's a translucent flake, which with a color shift you need it to be, then you're going to get a more dramatic effect over a dark color. It doesn't have to be black, could be near black, could be navy blue, you know. But yeah, so that bill would be exactly, you know, what they're giving you here is directions for best results. assuming that you want that pure color shift and you're not trying to do anything clever with underpainting or stuff like that, right? I will tell you that pigment, when added, I've worked a bit with color shift flakes. I was trying to find like a good color shift flake before I left Reaper. And what I did notice that I've mentioned before that shininess, if you add pigment or regular paint to your metallics, you'll notice the shininess goes down. And that's the same if you're just building a paint. If you're adding flake in and the more pigment you add, the more dull the metallic gets. With color shift, it's immense. Like you cannot add much pigment at all. Like tiny bit of pigment if you still want that shift, because pigments are particulate and they block the light. And because color shift depends so heavily on the light passing, you know, through the flake to give you that effect, if you throw pigment in there, you really interfere with the effect. You guys. Here I am talking paint chemistry and they're like, haha, I'm flaky. You guys. You're so funny. So actually, now I think I kind of want to play with this. I kind of want to see. I think not this one. I worry about this one because this one, I think that the blue tone, the blue shift, yeah, it could be a bit... It'll make the carapace look more like the skin. So I could see maybe doing this on one unit. But I kind of want to try this one. And I want to see it. I'm going to actually do this on stream. Sorry. Sorry, mouse. Sorry, mouse. And deviates from the original program. I have to. I just got paint. Besides, a lot of you have used color shift or are interested in using color shift. So hold on. Let me pop a couple drops in here. This is a really cool color. I'll tell you that. This looks really like black pearl. Just straight out the gate. Isn't that really pretty? Like you can see the shimmer across it. Isn't it neat? Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. All right. So since you want thickness for this, you don't want to thin it. So use a softer brush. I'll put a little bit over it since I haven't painted the other side of this at all. We'll just do a real quick paint it over this. This is actually blue liner, not black, but it'll fit that black recommendation. It's close enough, right? So I'm brushing it fairly thin over this. I always felt that color shift just was made for NIDs. Like just, it makes so much sense on Tyranids. That's cool looking. And the neat thing about using color shift on these is that the carapace goes in so many different directions. Now, you'll get much more of a shift and a much more interesting effect the larger of an area you do and the more layers you put on it. So, just get that brushed nicely on there. We'll get this out of here. And you can actually see the different colors popping up here. Can you see it? Like it goes a little bit more greeny, more yellowy, reddish here. So as the plates... move and tilt in different directions, you get a slightly different effect. Now, the more coats of this I put on, the more extreme this will get. But I think we can agree that even with just one coat, it adds something, right? It looks very cool. Yeah, right? So you can get... Yeah, oh yeah, on Elder Harlequin. On jet bikes, especially. Because, right, it's made for vehicles. Like, it's really made for those big, smooth surfaces and I can imagine on jet bikes would be amazing. And, like, a grav tank, you'd have to airbrush it. But, oh, you could get such a cool effect. Yeah, that makes sense, Valender. Yeah. So, all right. So, shall we go for it? Shall we just apply it over this other side and see? I think I'm going to add what I am going to do is add just a tiny bit of water, like not even a full drop, just a little bit of water in my brush. I want it to be a little smoother going on. But I can't add too much or I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose that because part of that gel-y feel. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you is how fine this particle is. And this is why it settles out. Like you can see kind of the grit here. Those tiny little specks, that gritty look, that's how fine that flake is. Like, it's super, super fine, and that's why these settle out so much. Let's do it on the head. I want to do it on the head. Let's see how it looks over this. It's probably just going to add a little bit of a sheen at first. Ooh, but look at it. It does change the color. See? Color? Color. So it went a bit more purple, but now I am seeing a little bit of shift. See it? See that little cool shift there, and then the warmer shift here, and then the cooler. So it does work. Like, it's going to be real subtle on with just one layer, but it adds something for sure. Glitter on everything. Quinty Curdy are like, spaghetti arms. But it looks cool. Like, no argument there. It looks cool. The cult of glitter and teal. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Carrie Michael. Yeah. Yes. And that's something, I did a video on it a while ago. But I think that that sort of thing, and also doing shaded color shift, is underrated. Like, it hasn't been really fully explored by our hobby yet, and I'd like to see it explored more. So yeah, so that definitely, you can see that it picks up different colors. Like, it picks up the yellow here and shows through, like, more like it actually is. But then it really cools down as it moves away from that light source and away from your eye. So that's a very interesting effect. And then the other side is more just straight up. You can see that yellow popping up more. I actually, looking at it here, I actually like it better over the paint job. But what I do know, looking at this, is that I want to bring these highlights up more. Because I'm losing a little bit of my underpainting. And that's what I found also on my model that I did this on the skirt of for that Patreon video, is that I found that I had to really, really pop, like, I need to actually pop up these highlights with white, probably, to get the striations to show through that coat of paint. So that's something that I would need to do going forward with this. So that's a good color for this. I think this is a good color for carapace for these bugs. I'm actually, and this was the one I was least excited about, but I think it actually might be the best one. And let's see here. What are the other ones? This is the one I have to use over white. How about, let's try, this one says can be applied over black or other turbo shift colors. So let's apply this over the top of that and see what we get. I'm having fun. Can you tell? But yeah, I'd have to say maybe my Tyranids need to be laser face Tyranids. That's the name of that one color. That black pearly color. All right, so there and there. So we'll choose 2 drops. And we're gonna add, again, just a tiny bit of water. Tiny bit. This one, a tiny bit. Just enough to smooth it out a little. All right, yeah, this is more of a thinner base. Okay, so this one is it more of a teal to purple. We're putting it over the top of this funky one, so let's see what this does. This could be fun. Oh, and that's going to come up really bright. Look at that. This is going to change the whole look. And we only have one layer of that previous color down, so. But yeah, so essentially whatever it looks like in the bottle, it's kind of a clue to you of how much it's going to change that black undercoat, right? The first color we used was very much looks like a black pearl or kind of a sooty color on the palette, so it really didn't pop the black color up very much. But this one is like all over the place. That one's really shifting it. See, so what I can tell you now is that I would not use this unless I alternated, like I flipped my color scheme to where the skin was dark and the carapace was light. Because this is going to take my carapace way lighter than I wanted. Color shift is just like the sophisticated glitter, Kurtiko. It's just you can be more sophisticated. You can sip your glass of red wine while you throw your hordes of nids at your opponents. But yeah, so the color in the bottle is going to give you a clue as to how much it's going to change the color you put it over, right? Because obviously the one that looks white had a lot bigger shift. Both because we had a layer of this down already, but also because it's just like, this is the way that this color works. It's interesting though. And we are getting a little bit of variability. This, where we'll really see the color shift though, is on, there we go. But it's on big models, big bugs. When you get those big carapaces, that's where you're really gonna see some shift. It's just better, this sort of paint is just better. Let High Bleed tries. Man, you guys. And so this blue one's going to be kind of in between, and it's going to drive it like more toward that cool tone in it, is what I'm thinking. But yeah, this is interesting because I'm getting a little bit of the red when it's hard to see it on the camera, but I am getting a little bit of the red in there as well as the blue, green, purple kind of shift. It's interesting though. Yeah, this is a little bit too light. I want contrast, so I would not use this color on the carapace. Sorry, but that was an interesting experiment. Interesting experiment for sure. But yeah, I think I definitely like that Black Pearl one, that first one we used that's more of a dark gray color. That's going to be really nice over these dark plates. I like it. I like it. We'll run with that. But, you know, I ordered a few more colors just because it's fun to work with them every once in a while, so. High Fleet friendship. But yeah, so there we go. Now we've played a little bit with the color shift paint. Now I know which one will be my paint. But yeah, so these other ones we'll just play with at some other time. I do want to try to put this over white and see how it looks. But I suspect it'd look better on a big model again. That's why at first, when these first came out, I was like, these are kind of gimmicky. And they kind of are, but they do look, because they look better on big models. And a lot of people put them on small models and want them to look really cool. But I feel like you really get the most mileage out of these color shift paints on big stuff. I'm just putting, what I'm doing right now is I'm putting a layer of water around the outside of this paint so that it doesn't totally stick to my palette. When you're dealing with metallics of any sort, usually they're made in a very hard base, and if you let it fully dry, it's a beast to try to get off your palette. But if you get a brush full of water and you run it around the outside of the paint, essentially you put a barrier of water, an aqueous barrier, around the outside of that metallic, and it won't dry onto your palette. And the inside is still wet, so that if I still wanted to use it, I could. My little termagant. Hey, I'm not painting little symbols on their butts. I did tell you guys that back in the day when I had my original Tyranid army, I did have smiley face spore mines, right? I told you that because it was real. My spore mines were bright yellow with smiley faces painted on them. They only wanted hugs. All right, so let's get back. Now that we've been totally distracted for 15 minutes. Yeah, but I only do this kind of flood in Aura if I'm really not intending to use them anymore. Because I'm just trying to essentially then protect my palette. Yeah, I could still grab a little bit from, I can still grab a little bit from the centers and paint it, use it. But yeah, agreed, it'll settle out that's why I didn't add much water to begin with, right? It's because I knew they settled out. And actually I'm surprised that they did as well as they did with even a little bit of water given. But it's a very thick base. It's a very gooey base they've got in. So, but yeah, I only do that watercolor effect in this palette when I don't want the paint to dry, when I'm done with it. And when I'm done with it, and I know I've got another 20 minutes of streaming, but I don't want them to dry in the palette because I don't want to have to scrub them out. I'll do it even with normal paints sometimes if I'm like, I just don't want to have to scrub out this color. Yeah, it was Turbo Dork. So yeah, they're interesting. They can be fun. Inara has been really helpful. You've been really helpful on the stream, Inara, with all the commentary on using them. I can tell you've used them a lot. And you too, Carrie Michael. I remember that when I was reading the updates from the Kickstarter that you were using color shift on Shimmer Scale. It makes sense. It's a fairy dragon. So I've decided to take July as a planning month for my writing. Now that the book is at the editor, I'll get it back probably when we're back from Seattle. And I will probably... I'll go through his changes. It's got to go... After that, it's got to go to my proofreader. But I think at the same time it's in my proofreader, I'll send it out to beta readers. Because that lets me just integrate like a whole bunch of feedback all at once. It's less times to read the book. So I'm getting in this highlight now that has that desert sand mixed in, right? And it's going to start bringing up this color. But it's with a far more faded blue. It's a lot less rich. So it's this color. It looks a lot like heather blue from the old worn navy denim and stuff. That kind of, those colors. So if you want to get an equivalent for the old, I think it's canceled, the heather blue. Yeah, Reaper carries other companies' stuff in Denton, but they don't. It's not in our online store because it's not Reaper. Like, we carry a lot of board games also in the store in Denton, but we don't sell them online. So I'm stippling a little bit here with this highlight color just to get a little bit of that worn kind of feel, rough kind of feel. Super. Awesome, Carrie. That sounds like a reason for Kuroniko to come across the ocean and come to ReaperCon. To take the glitter class. Not that you need any help, Kuroniko, but you know, it would be a reason to indulge. But yeah, I think the rest of this month I want to plan. I need to plan the next book a little. I'm more of a pantser than a planner, which pantser just means you write by the seat of your pants. And I actually, these days, there's a different word that people are using to kind of describe themselves who do that, which is discovery writer. And it feels more like what I do. So I kind of like that term better than pantser. But I do like to mind map. And so I'm thinking I might spend some mind mapping time this July before diving into the next book. I think what I want to be doing with these Bear Kings books is starting the next one at about the same time as I release the other one. I think that's like because I'm gonna have to be doing edits on the previous one almost right up till release. So it makes more sense. And I need a little bit of fallow time for my brain to work on new ideas and stuff. So there we go. So we're getting some real, and all I'm doing really is stippling. I'm leaving a little bit of that initial blue. You can see that right here. And I've got my shadow of the brown liner that I blended in with that Storm Chaser blue. This works with any dark blue or navy, by the way. It helps if Storm Chaser's got a little bit of gray in it. And so if you're trying to do this with like a void blue, I actually would add just a tiny bit of gray, like just half a drop of cloudy gray maybe, or stormy gray. And that'll help give you a bridge between the normal translucency of the blue. The ear tip tops, I believe they got highlighted back in when I was doing all the other highlights on the fur. You can see that they're highlighted, Pendrake. I mean, his fur is gray, and so it doesn't, that's where the contrast kind of fails you. I don't know. It's very much a writing term, Pendrake. I don't know if Urban Dictionary really has that one, but who knows? Maybe you're right. But yeah, discovery writer is more like where it's at. And people who discovery write, like Stephen King, for example, who just writes the book. But what the people who do it are relying on is their intuition and their just knowledge of how a story goes together, like just their intuitive knowledge of it. So you're trusting your intuition more, and you're not relying on breaking out a plot bit by bit on an outline. So we can see how the lining has really made the details of the coat come out. See how flat it looks on the other side where we haven't lined and we haven't shaded. So shading definitely is a key component here to make these details come out. Gary, I think it should be a rule. I think it should be a rule to get a cat person. You must show proof. You must show proof. Either that, or you have to come up to you wearing, or they have to come up to you wearing a pair of cat ears. I think either one would be grounds for a ribbon. I should do a ribbon this year. You guys bring up an excellent point here. It's about time to order it. I have to find a website. I don't remember what website to go to. Do you guys know, like, what website to order ribbons from? Reaper used to, like, give you guys the link. Yeah. Yes, if you can display cat hair stuck to your miniatures, I think you're fine. But wouldn't you want to show your pictures of your cats anyway, Inara? Ribbons galore. I'm not doing that one anymore because I can't go early enough to make a batch of that Pendrake. So if I do a ribbon, it'll probably be a Kiki ribbon, but I have to figure it out. Maybe I'll make a Beelzebub ribbon. Lately, because I call her Bubba sometimes because it's like Papa. So then I started calling her Beelzebubba. She could be Beelzebub. Because we were originally going to name her Cerberus. Yeah, there was a ribbon. There was a ribbon. You got the ribbon and the paint, both, Pendrake. Ribbons galore, you said, right, Quindy? Yeah. Yeah, I know, Dead Milkman. Yep. But Beelzebub. Beelzebub. That's where I got it from. I had a boyfriend in high school who loved Dead Milkman. Dead Milkman and Primus and They Might Be Giants, and it's how I found all of those groups. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out a ribbon for this year. Or maybe I'll make one related to my books. Who knows? Maybe I'll make both. Maybe I'll make a Kiki ribbon. And a ribbon for people who have actually bought my book. But I'll have to figure out, like, a thing to put on it. Kiki ears, yeah. Alright, so we're just getting some of those dark tones in here so that then when we do the highlights, then we get a lot more contrast out of it. So that's the other reason you want to paint in more shadow, is that you get more contrast out of your highlights that way. Alright, let's make sure I've got some of this. I think I've got my shadows pretty much in up here. Yeah, I can see them, so. Get a book signed to get a ribbon, yep. Yeah, I'll have copies there. I'll have a limited number of copies there. I don't know how much to expect, so I don't want to haul along too many. But I'll bring at least a box, a case. So again, a little bit of stippling here. And we'll be doing more as we get toward, like, when we get around to doing more of a brown tone on these to show the fading and the dirt and the weathering, we'll be concentrating toward the edges of the cloth. Oh no. Kuriniko, your cats are just like something else. It's like, that is not a toy for you, cat. She's just like, she spent more time with this than with me. You must die, miniature. You must die. What are you up to over there, Kiki? Probably David's in the TV room. I pointed out to him that he'll have to, like, find actual hobbies, like, once he retires. We were talking about retirement yesterday. He's many, many years away from it, but I'm like, you know, you're gonna have to get some more hobbies before you retire, because he's like, I know, otherwise I'll sit painting miniatures and playing computer games all day. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be terrible for your back. So yay, Kuriniko. I guess that's the bright side, right? She's back to her normal bitchy self, then it must be okay. So yeah, I tend to do more of a stipply stroke if I'm going to be doing weathering effects, to kind of get that gritty feel. Ooh, this is a hydrophobic part. The paint does not want to stick on this. So, secret thing, well, the not so secret thing, it'll make sense to you if you stop and think about, and this is traditional bones material, so that's part of the hydrophobics. If you think about this, think about the fact that people use brown liner to prime their bones models. If you have a hydrophobic part of the mini that the paint is not wanting to stick to, put brown liner over it, like I just did. I was trying to put blue over it, and the blue was resisting, and I put brown liner over it, and it took right away. There's a chemical thing about brown liner. The chemistry is different in the liner base than it is on other colors. David actually has gotten into 3D printing plinths per detergent, which he likes, I think, because he can make it any size, any shape without having a lathe. Because the problem with plinths is that if you want to make a round plinth, you've got to have a lathe, and we really don't have the space or the inclination to purchase one. Brown liner is magic, yes. I've done Tai Chi. I used to do it in college and after college, even while I was at Reaper for a while. And I enjoy it, but David needs to actually have, like, things that get him moving. I'd much rather see him take up hiking or something. Something we could do together. Join a hiking club. We both enjoy it. And since I'm taking steps to get better fitness level so that I can do more, it might be an option. Because he used to be very outdoorsy when he was a kid. Like, his parents are very outdoorsy. And he used to get out a lot more hiking and doing camping and stuff like that. And I could see, I can see him going back to that somewhat when he had the time. Pendrake, I have a hard enough time reminding him to do stretches, much less get him into Tai Chi. Ah, nice, Zachariah. Yeah. Yeah, David printed, he printed a base for his latest bust. I think he likes it. Even if it may take a couple of test prints, although he got pretty lucky with his first one. It worked right away. It was exactly the right size. But I think he really likes that he can change the shape and the size and do cuts to create angles and things like that. Because David really likes the base to fit the model. So again, a little bit of stippling here. Give you that rough kind of texture. Yeah, exactly. We do live in a great place to do outdoorsy stuff, right? Yeah, I appreciate it. I have done Tai Chi before, Pendrake. I enjoyed it, but I feel like, and I did Tai Chi in college. I did it after college. I went back to it. It's good, but I feel like the yoga does more for me, to be absolutely frank. And even my Tai Chi instructor in college, who was a girl who was from, she was a TA, she'd come over from China. She grew up in a little village, and she'd tell us stories about how all of the elderly people in her village would get out every morning and do Tai Chi for like half an hour or an hour before the day really got going. But even she said she taught us a series of stretches to keep limber, so Tai Chi is good for you. But I think that you've got to combine it with a good stretching program and ideally a strengthening program as well. But yeah, we've got so many beautiful places within it's an easy day or weekend trip to get. I mean, when it's 3.5 hours to Yosemite, and there's so many other parks we haven't gotten to around here and so many other just beautiful like ocean hikes. There's stuff all around here. I have to, now that Kiki's over a year, I need to look into getting her a dog pack and teaching her to wear it so she can backpack in her own water. But yeah, I don't know. David likes to bike too. I'm not as much into biking, at least not around here. I biked a lot when I was a kid, but it was all country roads and there wasn't any traffic. Here it's like bike lanes and you're in urban land, and I'm not as comfortable with cars whizzing by me. I don't enjoy it as much. Hi Kiki, did you just squeak at me? Or are you just saying, hey mom, it's almost time to walk. Oh, that's Kiki today. Squeaky Kiki. Right, Squeaky Kiki? Oh, did you hear me? Did you hear me making fun of you? Did ya? Did ya? Hi, big floof. Yeah, I need to brush you out again, I can tell. Yes. Brush your curly rump. The fur on her rump is so curly. It's so funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's key. I'm carrying my water. They can carry theirs. I agree, David. Hi. Yes. Yes, you're going to put a pack on you. I had to wait for her. I'd probably need to wait another 6 months for all her, everything to finish growing. You don't want to ever put weight on a large breed, especially a dog, when they're still growing. And they take a while. They take a while for all the growth plates to close and everything to mature, so I don't want to impact her. So I've held off this long. I'll probably hold off for another 6 months. And then we'll get the dog pack. Squeaky Kiki sounds like an island in Hawaii. We'll look for it when we're there. We won't have a Kiki with us for that one, though. It's our only Kiki-less vacation coming up. Although my parents have offered to, once they're in Arizona for the winter, they've offered to drive up and house sit and dog sit for us so that we can go and take, if we want to go take a trip somewhere. So probably won't do anything big, but we'll maybe go down to Carmel, Monterey, because we really like it down there. All right, so we've got a little, you can see how everything comes out so much better once you get that shading in. I'm getting that coming up. I need to do a little bit around the tail here. This is what we'll do for today, and then we'll finish our weathering on him the next time we get to him. We've got that coming up there. You can see how all that, the highlighting can just kind of come up that way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more hiking as I get more fit. I'm missing I'm missing like three classes of CrossFit, which is going to be deadly. Like, I really need to, because they're closed for 4th of July, except for one big group class in the morning that I'm not really thrilled about. So I'm probably not going to go. Plus, we'll be eating breakfast. And then we're going to be on the road on Tuesday or on Thursday and then on Tuesday. So I'm going to miss like 3 sessions of CrossFit, which probably means that unless I do something in the interim, I'm going to be hideously sore when I go back to it. So I need to get on the YouTubes and look up like a do-at-home CrossFit with just simple stuff. I don't have a bar or anything. I've got hand weights. But I could probably do like squats and push-ups and manage to keep myself in the thing. No, Valandar was just saying that maybe Kevin was counting them in our... Because if the contest isn't taking any more votes. I don't know. All right. Yeah, and we still got to finish out the leather on that glove, too. So we've got to do our fadey out, like really kind of brownish, tannish dust kind of dirt and dust highlights on the edges of his duster. Haha, literally, duster. And then we have to finish up his glove. And we got to do the edge of the hat. So we'll do the glove and the edge of the hat. Probably at the same time. In fact, I think I'm going to write that on his card, and then we have to think about a base for him. So I'm going to say, there isn't much of a punch list on this one because he's such a simple model, you don't really need a huge long list, but edge of hat and glove. And then dust dirt on jacket. And then basing. All right. I don't like his base at all, Pendrake. It's really just it's just this tiny circle, and I mean, I like the step up, and that's about it, but there's so little to it. I could do much better making a base for him. That's why I kind of glued him in, but I glued him in really loosely so I could snap him out. I would like to make a better version of this base for him with one of my tube stoves that I got from ReaperCon a few years ago from one of those companies. I never remember the company. I have to go and look in my closet at their packaging. But I've got a broken tombstone, and I kind of was thinking that it might be cool to just add to his base a little bit. Ah, okay. John intended to do it today, I see. Well, that would explain why they would turn off voting if there was a possibility that it would get tallied today. And if not, I'm sure he will get to it. Y'all are just going to have to wait. You impatient people, you. Says the woman who just ran to like 3 different places to try to find her Turbo Dork paints when she found out they were actually in her home. Alrighty. Yes, that's fun. Alrighty, puppy and thing. Yeah, I think he does deserve a bigger base. Like, he actually has turned out really well. Especially for a big cartoony figure like this in regular bones, he's turned out really, really well. So I feel like I want a nicer base on him. Because who knows if Ron is ever going to have any more of these painted for the gallery, right? The fun-size Mouslings. Shrug, who knows? But putting him on a nice base and giving him to Ron would be good. I feel like that's where it's at. The mouse. The mouse of doom. Doom! But yes, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to stay home. David's going to the party and the cookout. I'm staying home just in case Kiki doesn't like the big boomy noises. And once I see how Kiki deals with the boomy noises, then we'll make the decision if I'm going to get to go to the party next year or not. Or maybe we get a pet sitter. But yeah, so Rhonda will not be on today, and we won't be on tomorrow. We'll be back here on Wednesday, yes, and then I will disappear for 6 days. And then I'll be back again for the rest of July and all of August until ReaperCon. So, you know, use the holiday to, like, work on your ReaperCon entries. All right, you guys. I hope you have a great one. And I will be back when we come back on Wednesday. We'll be back on her and probably on the skin since I just basiced it in and we need to take it a little bit rosier to make it different from the cream. So yeah, we'll be on Jolie tomorrow, or Jolie on Wednesday. KK? All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me through my brief digression on the color shift paint. And yeah, have a great 4th of July if you are in America. If you are not in America, well, just have a nice Tuesday. All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.